everyone, this is Sweta Tuladhar from Atu's Online Study, and today I'm going to give you my presentation on achievements of UNO and the role of United Nations in global governance. So far, UN has made the following achievements, and they are peace and security, upliftment of children, women, disabled and minorities, refugees and displaced persons, poverty and hunger, diseases, human rights, environment, decolonization, and international law. Peace and security. During the Cold War, it was unable to take action to enforce peacekeeping operations such as in the Korean War in 1950 and the Vietnam War from 1955 to 1975. After the end of the Cold War, the UN regained its lost relevance. Some of the accomplishments of the UN in maintaining international peace and security are that nuclear weapons has not been used since the inception of UN. It arranged ceasefire and negotiations in the globe. It provided peacekeeping force in conflict region, and it helped in settling many war-prone conflicts. Upliftment of children. Issues confronting the rights of the children such as malnutrition, impoverishment, improper physical and mental growth, lack of sanitation, health and water have been tackled. The UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, works in more than 190 countries and territories to advance the rights of the children around the globe. So it sets standards and measures to protect and promote the well-being of children in the society. Upliftment of women. The UN has involved to improve the lives of women and to empower them to have greater control over their lives. The Convention of the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women in 1979 and the Declaration on the Elimination of All Forms of Violence Against Women adopted by the GA in 1993 have contributed to strengthening the institutional mechanisms for the advancement of the conditions of women. The United Nations Development Fund for Women, UNIFEM, in 1976 and at present known as UN Women and the International Research and Training Institute or the Advancement of Women, INSTRAW, in 1979 and the Commission on the Status of Women in 1946 have supported programs and projects including credit training and access to food production technologies and marketed opportunities for the quality of life for women in over 100 countries. Upliftment of disabled. Various UN declarations and conventions has been pointed out the need for special attention for human dignity, the same rights for disabled as for other human beings, protection against exploitation. Declaration on Rights to Disabled Person in 1973 has pointed out the need for special attention on the rights of disabled and protection against discrimination. Resolutions passed by COSOC in 1975, Declaration of International Year of the Handicapped in 1981, and efforts of the ILO to call upon the protection, rehabilitation, and the settlement of the people with disability, refugees, and displaced people. The issues relating to the problems of refugees, that is, people forced to leave their native place to take shelter to another country, and displaced, those people forced to move another place within their own native country, have been dealt within the framework of the UN system. The UNHCR, that is, United Nations High Commission for Refugees, works to tackle the problems of refugees. For its role, it was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1954 and in 1981. The UN has been providing humanitarian assistance such as food, shelter, medical support, and education through the UNHCR. Minorities. A minority group refers to a category of people who experience relative disadvantage as compared to members of a dominant social group. Minority group membership is typically based on differences in observable characteristics or practices such as sex, ethnicity, race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Various cultural efforts have been made towards preserving the culture, traditions, religions, and languages for minorities, for ensuring the right of equality and eliminating different kinds of discrimination against them. The UN has declared the rights of the minorities within the UN system in 1992 and has urged states to protect national, cultural, ethnic, religious, and linguistic identities of the minorities with their respective territories for the promotion of such rights. Poverty and hunger. The issues regarding poverty and hunger existing especially in many developing countries have led to malnutrition, diseases, civil war, conflicts, and civil disorder. Realizing this fact, the UN inspired the establishment of the Food and Agricultural Organization (FAO) in 1945 as a specialized agency within the UN system. The FAO has been entrusted to act as a central food agency in supplying and promoting the distribution of food grains to raise the level of nutrition, standard of living, and eradicate starvation from the earth. Diseases. The global attention to the fatal diseases such as HIV/AIDS, polio, swine flu, bird flu, tuberculosis, SARS, Ebola, and Zika virus is paid by the UN specialized agency, that is the World Health Organization (WHO). In 1991, the WHO and the UNICEF certified the immunization of six killer diseases, namely polio, tetanus, measles, whooping cough, diphtheria, and tuberculosis. Child mortality rates in many developing countries have been reduced significantly, and life expectancy has increased from around 37 years to 70 years. Human rights. Since the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, the UN has set a comprehensive list of norms and standards of human rights. UN conventions, declarations, and covenants focus on setting standards, defining and clarifying human rights, promotional activities, studies of particular human rights violence, humanitarian activities, recommending measures, and providing assistance to victims. UN has adopted 90 human rights instruments in various specific areas. Environment. The UN has played a vital role in designing global programs to protect the environment. The UNHCE held in Stockholm in 1972, the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the Kyoto Summit held in Japan in 1997, the World Summit on Sustainable Development in Johannesburg in 2002, and the UN Conference of Climate Change in 2009 in Copenhagen. The Climate Change Conference held in Paris in 2015 have played crucial roles in global efforts in setting international standards, protecting the ozone layer, curbing global warming, promoting sustainable forestry development, and protecting natural resources. The UNEP and the WMO have put efforts towards the damage of the Earth's ozone layer, reducing greenhouse emissions and other environmental degradations which have spared millions of people from the increased risk of natural calamities. Decolonization. The UN has achieved greater achievements in the field of decolonization. It gave inspiration to millions of African and Asian people who were under colonial rule to claim the right of self-determination and independence. By 1994, all the trust territories, that is, colonized territories, has attained self-government and independence either by a separate state or by merging with other independent countries through Trusteeship Council of UNO. International law. The UN has made major contributions towards the codification and development of international law. Since the 1960s, it has expanded the growth of international laws in the form of multinational treaties, conventions, customary practices, judiciary decisions in the fields of human rights, environment, humanitarian assistance, war crime, crime against humanity, trade, intellectual property rights, arms controls, and disarmament. United Nations in global governance. The UN is the first global institution which has global legitimacy and authority to solve a variety of problems effectively across the world. To solve various transboundary problems, UN uses following methods or tools: diplomacy, dialogue, and negotiations, passes resolutions, takes decisions, enforces sanctions, deploys peacekeeping troops, and enforce agreements. There is no supreme authority at the global level that determines the jurisdiction of all actors, diverse groups, to enforce norms and laws and regulate the behavior of state and non-state actors rather than UN. In recent years, the role of the UN to manage various problems of the world is increasing. Hence, the UN has very important role in global governance. The role of UN system in global governance can be listed in the following points. It represents, it prepares the draft of important resolutions, decisions, and global policy. It performs an important role of non-hierarchical coordination in global political process. As a centerpiece of global governance, the UN identifies and analyzes issues to be solved and organizes dialogues, coordinates, cooperates, and formulates agreements among national governments and other actors across the globe for shaping global policy which manage the global affairs. There exist many gaps in the global system for dealing with global problems, namely a jurisdiction gap, operational gap, an incentive gap, and a particularly participatory gap. The UN plays a leading role in bridging these gaps. Most of the collective problems of the world are acknowledged and solutions are sought at the UN forum. It serves as a platform for global policy process where the governments of the world come together on an equal footing to try to resolve the world's most pressing problems. It adopts different judicial mechanisms, quasi-judicial mechanism, and other dispute settlement procedures to solve the disputes between and among the countries. Developing countries of the world view the UN as a protective umbrella where they create their rights, duties, and obligations and use their authority to manage global problems to achieve certain objectives. It has greater roles in creating and promoting global norms, standards, and codification of international law and their enforcement. It collects and disseminates authentic information regarding many issues which then become a common base to shape global policy agenda, and UN also is also actively involved in the world's economic, social, cultural, humanitarian, and environmental activities without undermining state sovereignty. So it was my pleasure for me to share my knowledge via Aduce Online Study. So do press like button, share button, and subscribe button. For notification of more of such educational videos, do not forget to press bell icon after you press subscribe button. Do leave your valuable comments in comment box for giving us ideas on improved video presentation of Aduce from Aduce Online Study. So, thank you.